So, how about it, you guys? Are we ready to do this shit or what, finally?
Yeah. Finally.
All right, let's get down to business.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Get Realisms podcast. I am Adam Chase Rennie.
And I am Christine Chen. And
excuse
you
me.
forgot to introduce our special guest.
I'm going to introduce our special guest. Are you out of your mind? You just trampled all over. Now we got to do it all from the top. Now we got to do it from the top. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Get Realisms podcast. I am Adam Chase Rennie.
And I am Christine Chen.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is episode 51, and we got one of the most special boys that I know. His name.
Okay, is this where I say my? I'm so confused about where I'm supposed to hop in here.
Introduce yourself. Go ahead.
I'm Matt Stryker. Hi, Kelly.
Matt.
Matt Stryker, filmmaker in Austin, and I was the first assistant director on Erzulie.
Yay!
Yay!
And you just perfectly segued into the first thing I want to talk about, Christine. We did the reshoots, and now that that's done with, we're close. You're close to the finish line. We're almost there.
Close. I'm actually I have to shoot some green screen stuff tonight, so that's almost done.
But even closer.
Getting closer. The best part is it all fits in. That's what makes me happy. So it actually cuts in, and we had a film person who wasn't part of our team actually go and look. He just was popping in when I was editing. He was like, "Oh, that looks great." And he had no clue that was shot in my friend's pool. So that's good.
Cinema is lies.
That is great. And you worked really hard. Though that day was a lot of fun as well. There's so many things that we learned on that shoot. The first thing I learned on the reshoot, especially, and then we're gonna get into Matt, and he's gonna be taking the rest of the podcast. But I wanted to say this one thing, ladies and gentlemen. Christine has a subtlety of a beach ball underwater. The buoyancy in her is phenomenal. It is absolutely amazing. I never seen someone so small who yet can be very nimble and can pass you around underwater so easily. I never seen that. And man, did I learn something new on that fucking day.
I learned a lot of new things too. I was like, wow, I didn't know I floated that much, and that I could actually hold my breath under the water a lot longer than I thought I could. You
can hold your breath for a long ass fucking time.
I honestly didn't think
you're a natural born swimmer.
I could. I'm actually really afraid of the water. So this was actually very surprising to me, because usually when I'm in the water, I'm the one that's panicking and trying to, just thinking that I'm going to drown. Hence, not being able to hold my breath for very long.
Honestly, I didn't even know that. But yeah, that's true. But you also had like 5 other friends who were there with you at all times in the pool.
This is true. Yes. I guess my anxiety becomes less when there's other people around and I know that they'll save me if anything happens.
Right. Yeah. Well, Matt, so you where are you going, Matt? All right, he just took off, ladies and gentlemen.
No, I'm trying to slightly help this echo situation that I think I'm causing.
Oh, it's okay. Oh, are you echoing? I couldn't even hear the echo.
So I can't turn the volume off altogether on the Instagram.
No, but you can turn it all the way down.
Yeah, you just turn it down and then put it
because
away
then you're exactly.
From your mic. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Here we go. Oh, look at us figuring it out. Anyway, good radio.
Cool. This is great radio. And we're live, ladies and gentlemen. So the mistakes are gonna happen. And if you guys are like, can these guys get it together? We are getting it together. Relax. This is live. We're just trying shit out. And it's fine. And we figured a lot of shit out actually after 51 episodes. I mean, look at that sweet, sweet fucking microphone Christine's packing.
Yeah, it's courtesy
Goddamn.
of Adam.
What? Me? No. Me being a good guy, that's who I am. And speaking of good guys, Matt Stryker, you were our first AD on Erzulie. Please, was there any takeaways that you left Erzulie with that will apply to your future sets? Anything that you learned on that set that you're just like, oh, noted. That's me from now on.
Well, yes. I would say like the complimentary form is like the Erzulie team was an embarrassment of riches in terms of just like the difficulties, and I've listened to a few of y'all's episodes, so I know it's been at least expressed how it was a difficult shoot, but
yes,
it was absolutely a testament to the team that it functioned as well as it did. So I think in general, I was witness to just a professionalism and skill level that certainly like every production I steal documents from. I steal call sheets. I steal like little things, and like Christine built basically a treasure trove of documents I'm stealing. Also, in terms of, I would say a big thing I noticed is like Erzulie is an ensemble film. Like, you know, it's a main cast of 4 girls, and I actually like this wasn't like new to me because I've been on productions that had like big ensembles before, but it is just like a reminder, especially when you're in crunch time, that like scenes of just 4 people talking, just like shooting that involves quite a bit of coverage that I will always appreciate when I'm writing stuff moving forward. It's just like never forget dynamics, like just covering a scene, like and it went well, but it was a case of like we had many things to get every day.
More characters equals more coverage.
Yeah.
So what Matt is actually trying to say is he learned to not write an ensemble film.
I don't know if I'm full on taking
that lesson.
Yeah, I still love a good ensemble, but just appreciating the production elements of that is was certainly a takeaway. Yeah. And also to just never upset the gods of nature. Just that the weather gods are always going to be laughing at you and your intentions. Yes. But no, I don't like. I had a great experience with Erzulie, like genuinely. Like I have already like I've hung out with this crew outside of this shoot so much. Like everybody's talented badasses. Like my real answer is that I'm taking away from Erzulie is just like the people. Like a deep roster of professionals that I'm excited to like call on again for the next thing.
It's unbelievable. The amount of talented people. Yeah, exactly. And Christine knew exactly who she. Go ahead, Christine. I'm sorry. I just trampled all over you.
No, you're exactly right. I'm in the business of collecting people.
Yeah, it's not. To say it's a business sounds really strange, but it does feel like we are like a strange family, like a tight little knit family that we all work together so well and so fast too, that we just know to just go for it, and we just know to keep working our asses off. So yeah, no, that's I completely agree with with your statement, Matt, because it's the amount of talent, just the amount of like patience you got to have in terms of just like going through the I mean, we already rehashed this, so if you guys want to listen back to old episodes, please do. There's definitely like, you know, lots of just not only just changes, but just things just, you know, just coming out of nowhere. And then of course Mother Nature too, just basically fucking mocking us. It's like the environment was mocking back at us, you know. It like it was definitely a strange experience, but it was an experience nonetheless. And also to be very weary of where to shoot in you know, in Holden, Louisiana.
Yes. I mean, I think the biggest thing is that this is not what we did is not possible without the kind of team that we had. Like, it's just not.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's only possible because like the people who are on team are very good at what they do, and they prep, and they're all leaders, and like I've been on so many sets, and Carly will attest. Carly, the second AD / production coordinator, will attest to this, where you'll have department heads, but it's almost like you're the department head because you have to remind them so much about the job that they're doing. And this did not happen at all on our set. In fact, department heads were catching each other's departments things too. And like it was a checks and balance, and we were all holding each other accountable. And not because it was because we all collectively cared about the project and collectively wanted to succeed, and we're just helping each other out, you know, like the sound ladies. I remember Ryan and Lisa were like, this was the nicest like sound, like camera crew that would help move stuff. Usually sound would get in trouble, you know, like sound's always in the way or whatever, and
Right.
and nobody wants to help them. But in this one, you know, the moment rain or something would happen, everybody was collectively trying to see which department needed help, you know. And that's you don't find that a lot on a lot of sets. Granted, there is a stigma, and I understand why it's there, like you're not supposed to touch other people's department stuff, but there's to an extent where I don't appreciate when it's like clearly you have hands and somebody else needs help and you're not stepping in because it's not your department, you know. Like I never believe that. So
right, because it was
like that.
Yeah, I mean, nothing is like beneath us. It's as strange as it is. Like I was a PA. I still am a PA, kind of. You know, nothing. If I know to jump in on something, I'm just gonna jump in. It doesn't matter. I understand like there's certain departments that got to do their thing, but for the most part, yeah, like we all jump in and help regardless. Even like G&E too, you know, being so short on hands, they needed help striking down. They needed help, you know, getting stuff out and in and whatnot. You know, it requires a tribe, ladies and gentlemen. It requires a tribe.
In the words of Dominic Toretto, familia.
Familia.
Go see Fast 9 in theaters. Can I ask, so how many episodes have y'all done at this point touching on Erzulie specifically?
Oh, God. Wow, that's a good question. Let's check it out.
We started on 49. No, right?
48. What? No, no, episode 40 was our next season.
Okay, we started. Okay.
Yeah, so we've done 11 episodes so far.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Are there any aspects about production at this point that you feel like you haven't gotten an opportunity to sort of speak on or tout?
I mean,
or
we
like,
haven't talked. We haven't talked at all about the AD department at all.
Mm.
That's why you're here. I mean, for the most
That's
part,
right.
it's been my kind of download on how hard it was.
Especially coming from somebody who can't stop being a first AD, Christine.
Yeah.
Yeah. While Matt Stryker's trying to be a first AD.
Yeah.
But in the name of, this thing having to go, like Christine was very often the person that knew the most of what was going on at any given time. I'm not I told her this like at the first phone call that we had with each other. Like, I'm not precious necessarily about the position on a level of like maintaining some power stance on production. I'm totally in game in the name of just, what carries us forward in the best way is the way to go. And Christine, I've been wanting to, I think I've told you this, Christine, but I've been wanting to hit you up just on my own before Erzulie started, because I'd heard so much about you. I know you've worked with Charlie Pierce. I think you've worked with Ivy.
Yes, I've worked with Ivy. Yeah.
Some friends that like have like shouted your praises in the past, and it's like, I've AD'd in town. I mean, my first feature was like in 2015. But like in terms of ADing, I personally have not done much more than independent features. I've had like small commercial runs, but like even those, like where I personally thrive or am most interested in is indies. Yeah, indie shorts and like friends projects. Like, and I think that's partially because for me, I'm on a personal level still kind of finding what the balance is of this as a profession versus like this is being drawn to the work and the art of it. But
yeah,
it's because I've been asked, and I'm getting asked more regularly, like I very much feel in the last year and change that like people are looking for me to define a little more specifically like what I do. Not to say that people can't wear multiple hats, but like I've AD'd, I edit, I've produced, and like my goal is ultimately to also direct stuff too. And it's very hard to, I'm being a little indecisive on like what to give people.
Is it absolutely necessary to be decisive? I mean, I understand like making sure you excel at something, because if you're a jack of all trades, you don't always excel at everything, which I think because there's a certain amount of training that does experience that does go into making yourself good at something. But like I've talked about this on podcasts, and I'm a strong supporter of perspective. I think that somebody
we talked about perspective.
All the time. Like I feel like somebody who knows how to, I mean, we talked about this in the pool yesterday. Grace is an editor as well as a DP and sometimes a director.
Right.
And I feel that perspective can add and make you better at all your jobs collectively, or one particular job or whatever, like I can't tell you how many times I feel like editing should be a requirement for directors, So to say that like you have to define who you are, I don't know if I entirely agree with that. But maybe what you mean is you're just trying to, obviously we only have so much time in a day. So knowing what your priorities are so that you can develop them deeper than what they are. Sure.
Yeah, that I don't believe anyone has to be one thing, but yes, it gets harder to market yourself, I guess, when you yourself are kind of hedging on what you want to put forward.
Yeah, I can see that.
And that's my path to navigate, certainly.
I mean,
but,
there's some sort of sophisticatedness too, right? When it comes to, because if you just had like one specific job, like I had one specific job for like 11 years and I hated it. And for me to be in this, yeah, it's hard to really define like exactly what I do because shit just changes and it varies between set to set. Sometimes I'm doing art department, sometimes I'm just PA. I've even done location PA, you know, just random jobs like that, you know. So it's hard for me
I do
to.
locations too.
Well, that's the thing. It's just like, why it's so hard. Why? I mean, I just say I work in the industry to people who are outside of the industry, you know,
Yeah.
and it's just easier to just say that. But unless you are in the industry and, you know, you're talking to somebody who is also in it and, you know, what do you do? It's just like, so, you know, it's, but also I wouldn't want to just have one thing that I'm just tethered to, that it's just like, that's who I am. And I've been doing this for however long. I also think like the ADHD side of me just wants to move on to a different thing instead of just be so just latched onto one specific fucking job. I want to do all sorts of shit, you know. It's strange because because it feels like I should understand and stick to one thing, but that also in of itself doesn't make sense, especially if, you know, like my lifelong term goal is to write and direct at some point. You know, it doesn't make sense for me to just hang out and just only be one specific department. Then at least understand, if I can't, I know I can't be a hair and makeup artist, but if I can understand it more and more each set I work on, that makes me be able to communicate to more departments than I can ever done. You know what I mean? Like I can say shit without sounding like a fucking idiot, even though 95% of the time I do on this podcast anyways. But that's neither here nor there. I truly think that, you know, you gotta have to have like some sort of experience with everything, especially if the long-term goal is to make your own thing, you know, because that's impossible to communicate if you have zero fucking clue what the camera department really does, or zero clue what G&E do or art department does. You sort of have to like have some sort of understanding of it, you know. Especially, you talked about it yesterday, Christine, and you made such a great point. Editing, like people just kind of put post-production by the wayside. Excuse me, especially for directors and stuff like that. So if you have no editing experience, it makes production that much harder for you. And when you said that, I was like, oh, that makes a lot of fucking sense.
Yeah. It's like, for example, set dressing, right?
Right.
Experienced art director will often start to put things in once they see a frame is up and they know that, hey, we're not going to see this side of the world or whatever when we're editing. It's okay if we're using the same lamp because maybe the same house has like 3 of the same lamps or whatever it is. I feel like without knowledge of the editing aspect and how it all pieces together, you'd maybe not know that. You might expect the entire place to be completely, you know, set dressed or whatever, or you know what I'm trying to say?
I do.
Yeah.
I do, because you can't just expect them to pick up what you're trying to lay down just so naturally and universally, because you can't universally talk to every single person in every single department the same way, you know? So yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, yeah, set dressing, you have to, and it's not just that either too. It's an amalgamation of different other departments that sort of still need to understand what's being played at and what's also in frame and what to dress in frame and stuff like that. So what's light in frame, everything. Yeah.
I have a question for Stryker.
Oh, I thought it was for me. Wow.
No, I want to know what you thought of working with another AD, but but flipped as I'm curious because I had a very similar experience, dating someone who was also an AD. And for me, it was hard, but I think a lot of it was because I'm so used to knowing best and knowing better than the director. And so for me to be so challenged that the director themselves knew more than I did made me very insecure about what I actually knew. And I mean, it was both a love and hate. I hated it because I felt like I was always performing at 60% of my 100%. Like for me, a perfect day is like, I know exactly where everything's going. I know where crew's going. I know where the bathrooms are. I know where crack is going to be set up. I know 4 shots down where everything's going to go. And like, I know what 3 days later is going to be like. But on this set where I was aiding a AD, I was always felt like a few steps behind, and it was a big mind fuck for me. But it pushed me that much harder to be better. And I definitely came out of the experience a much stronger AD because of it. But it was definitely a love-hate relationship.
Well, I did. It was not a love-hate relationship in working with you, Christine. It was pure hate. No, it was
utter hatred.
I learned so much from you. I will be honest in saying that I definitely feel you in that, because I was one of the last hires, I believe, for the production, correct? Because you have such experience with ADing, that you were already tackling so many aspects of the role before I came on. Like you had the schedule built out and everything. You knew the property better than anyone. You knew the script, and I mean, obviously there's Camille, but like you were so prepared before I even came on that there was certainly a degree of always feeling like I was catching up to a place you were already at. And that, that on top of personal stuff that like is completely unrelated to Erzulie, like, just general mental health, I was kind of not in the best place when I first came on. It was honestly exciting when Erzulie kind of got presented to me because I was just I was kind of in a funk and I hadn't been on something in a while. I mean, Erzulie was my first production since full production. I did do a week of pickups for a feature that I worked on, In Between Girl, currently on the festival circuit.
Shout out. Yeah.
But always be branding. But
yep, always
yes.
be
ABB.
Baldwin did it better. But I was looking for a challenge, and Erzulie, you made it very clear what kind of production it was. When like, oh, this is a 90 page movie, 11 days, all on a location, river stunts, prosthetics, makeup, mermaid, action. I remember when I first read the script and like, the finale is like 6.5 pages of action. And it's like, and we have a day to do it. And it's like, and, but your confidence made me confident to take that on. And I really wanted to put myself in a sort of sink or swim kind of situation. Because obviously we're here, so we swam. We swam the river.
swam.
We pulled it off. I've seen a cut of the movie. It's looking great. Like you did the damn thing. But yeah, the feeling 60% rings true to me just because I wish that I had a firmer grasp on answers. And I think sometimes because of the because of your knowledge on the production, as well as the speed we had to be going, there were times where it felt like we were mutually doing the job. And I kind of like, it was both a necessity, and sometimes like, I wish that I could have offloaded more for you. But I also think it was a place of necessity. Sometimes things needed to push in a way where we have to go.
Yeah.
And you provided that balance, Matt, you know?
I did. And you know, like, you know, I don't want to paint myself purely
No, you made sure there was
light
days we were pushing back, and I was like, fine. Yeah, no, you did your job. Yeah, you made sure I didn't work more than 13 hours if I could. Yeah.
I do appreciate it. And I think that in some ways, maybe that is where I felt most useful, in just being like a second voice to, you know,
the voice of reason.
I don't know. Well, that's to suggest that Christine's not, isn't that?
Christine is unreasonable.
Hey.
No, I'm not saying that. That's your co-host. But we do need to be, I think that we need to be challenged in our drives sometimes.
Yes.
I think
agree.
that the AD position is ultimately about getting the entire crew safely through production while serving the director's interests. And I think that
that's a good one.
That would but
fucking hats off to you, Matt. Hats off.
Sorry, I'm trying to find the words a bit, which
I'm fucking you
sure
up.
makes for great radio.
We're just borderline ADHD. I'm sorry.
But you know, and I've heard you speak to this too on the podcast, Christine, but the way that just the way that like an AD has to listen to all departments, all people. You're kind of like, you're taking everybody, you're kind of collectively getting, you're collecting everybody's emotional place, and you're trying to navigate a sort of a steadiness that gets everyone there. Because you know, morale is a real fickle fucking thing. And people can, and you know, especially on a tough production, it takes a lot to make people get to the next day. And that's kind of, that's something I feel ultimately is my motto as an AD, is I just want to help people get to tomorrow. That might be just a life philosophy, is like, I want to help people get to tomorrow, even if today is difficult. And for Erzulie, many days were like, there wasn't a single day where we didn't have something that was just stressing us out, or some circumstance changing, whether it be like a location-based thing, or just like we're running out of time, or like something not working. But you know, I don't mean to keep going back to like crew family terminology, but we pulled through the way we did because you did a great job of finding people that made that alchemy. Even when it was tough, people at the end of every day pretty much were sharing drinks, and like, you know, frustrations never went into full on bad blood, as far as I saw, which I do think is something as AD you are just witness to. You are witness to all the departments where they're at. You hear all these things, and you like, placate's not the right word, but you just try and make people feel heard and help where you can, and kind of trying to help understand where you can't.
I think you nailed it on the head, where it's just trying to make sure people can get through to the next day, and then to the next, and to the next, and again.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what was special about our team is that I hope that even in the difficult conversations that you have to have, people still felt safe to have those conversations. And being able to feel safe to have those conversations is what saves production from total meltdown, because you're able to process, you're able to air out your issues, and then get past them.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been on plenty of sets where that wasn't the case. It wasn't the same. And when it's not, it's in there. And it's in there and it causes other problems that are subconscious, or, you know, people become catty at each other, become mean, it's just stress being built up, and then become dicks and stuff like that. Like, sometimes you just need to air it out, get it off your chest, and then figure out how to deal with it, or not, or say that this is something that just, is what it is, and move on from it. But not having that space to do that, I think is literally what's the biggest problem on toxic sets. And I think by virtue of having handpicked everybody, having worked pretty much with everyone, I mean, it wasn't all like everything is great. Like, I've had some difficult conversations. People telling me about certain, people's morale's going down, or like being upset, or like being super tired, or the food sucks, or whatever. Like, and like, it sucked to hear that stuff, but it was great to know that people felt comfortable and safe to tell me so that I could do something about it.
Yeah. And you have people's trust, Christine. That's one of your great qualities. I'm curious, like, to flip it back on you, being someone that primarily, well, is it primarily ADing? Would you say that's like your first most position you get?
Totally.
I mean, what's it like swapping the role, and like, because I think I was one of the first ADs you've had, right? You typically kind of, when you
I had an AD once, but yeah, no, for the most part, this was for such a long period of time. I've never really, because most of the shorts I've done, I've AD, done the dual role and stuff like that, mainly because I didn't really have the resources to be able to bring an extra person for a role that I already knew how to do, basically. So it was hard to shut it off. Very hard. I think I lasted like 2 minutes and grabbed a water.
There was apparently a bet where, like, how people were basically saying, how long is it going to be till Christine gets a walkie? Because she was not supposed to have one, but she did have.
I would like to say the last day I gave away my walkie.
You did.
Wow, what a mention.
And the last day I was like, I recognized my limitations, and I was like, there's no effing way I can listen to the walkie and try to get through the 40 some plus setups we're about to do. And
unless you want a hole in the head, that's just terrible.
Unless I wanted to just have a mental breakdown myself.
Yeah.
So I was very much like, I need to just focus, because I have the biggest finale with every single character and stunts I've never imagined that I could pull off with the budget that I had. And I was like, here is my walkie, take that, take my phone, take everything. I gave away all communication, basically. It was stressful for the first like 10 minutes, because I was like, what's going on? What's going on? Like, I would subconsciously go to my, caller and to radio for something and realize I didn't have it all the time. I could be like, shit.
Is Christine trying to wipe her mouth? What's happening?
I'd be like, shit.
Christine's eating her shirt.
Yeah.
Well, where did it become useful for you? Like, where are the places where you felt the use of bringing in someone to take the aspects of that role off? Like, where did it become easier on Erzulie?
It was the parts where you could help to keep track, like, of people and their to-do lists, made me be able to take that off of my plate. Just a little bit. Like, that was very helpful. The fact that I knew you were making sure that these things that we knew that we needed to were in the morning, during the day, that you had already asked and double checked with people. When I realized that you were good at that, that was a whole stress that I was like, all right, I know Stryker probably told Isaiah and called him and gave him a list, like, we're good. I know that he checked on these 2 broken things that we know was broken. So that's why I started to give you lists, because I can make that your list. So yeah, it was that for me was the most helpful, was not having I mean, I still had that list, but like it was now low on my priority versus like at the top of my head plaguing me, so I remember feeling very grateful when I could walk off the set to sit and just think, that's
and you needed to for plenty of times. There were lots of moments where like you needed to take all the new current circumstances, like, okay, I need to go right in my head. It's like,
I was like, I need to just everybody just shut the fuck
up. That's not a Christine thing, by the way. Like Christine always just like jumps in and just like moves on to the next thing, or just keeps working no matter what. So for you to just like take a beat and just like take a walk, I was like, oh, Christine's like on maximum overdrive.
Well, I think what it was is the ensemble aspect was, instead of having 2 people who are in your head constantly, you have 6 people that are in your head, and all 6 of them have multiple different combos of opinions for how the scene should go.
Yeah.
And so, especially when there's something extremely technically difficult, like stunts, and so I'm like trying to reblock a whole scene because our beach is gone, and everybody's trying to be helpful, which I appreciate, but then you have like 8 people trying to be helpful, plus the crew trying to be helpful, plus like it was just like, let me sort through this cobweb of crap that's in my head of all these helpful opinions that I literally like can't think and process. Just need to go and listen to myself. Yeah. So there were
8 helpful opinions simultaneously is still just
it's a lot.
Noise.
You have to sift through them.
Yeah, it was a lot of noise. So
do y'all mind if I like
I can pinpoint like the day when the big finale was one of them, and it was helpful knowing that you guys were getting the pickup shot at the visitor center that I needed, that is in the film, that I could be on the beach figuring out what we were going to shoot, like that was a luxury I haven't really had without having to usually what I wanted. And that was quite nice. So I think that was cool to be able to utilize that, so that I had as much time as I could for the actors, so that they felt heard. And even then, that's how nuts our set was. Even then, with trying to give every single actor the time, it's still never enough. Like somebody is still going to feel like they didn't get enough attention, and it's just like having 10 kids, man.
Yeah. It's like having 30. You have 30.
Yeah.
Basically.
You just give one person just a little bit more, and the other person is like, I don't understand. Like, was I doing things wrong? Like, no. this is mommy, daddy. Yeah. So
did y'all share? Have you like shared the story of like that last day, like with the river and everything? Like, I don't know how much y'all have gotten into.
We briefed on it, but not.
We touched barely, but we can talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about
it. It certainly is at least a story of like.
Yeah, well, I would love to hear it from Stryker's point of view.
Stryker's point of view is that I learned a lot about water flow over that last month, because so we had like some torrential downpours, and so much of the plot of Erzulie is built around this river that Erzulie is summoned or like attacks at. Like, it's basically your beginning, middle, and end all take place at the river. But the river kept shifting. Like when we had a whole week of just preparation. where like, you know, you brought the actors and we did like run throughs of the stunts, and we did run throughs of like, we had a whole day of just walking through that epic finale of like, which had so many action beats. Like, without spoiling things, it's like, okay, well, actually, I'm not going to say what the beats are because
so many beats.
There's lots of action. There was lots of action beats, and like Christine was just trying to like figure out the blocking of 100 things simultaneously with an iteration of the riverbank that never existed again after that week, because when it was like, okay, this is how we'll do it, and then God came and washed away.
Say, fuck your plan.
Yeah, fuck the plan. He brought the river about. Joel, our DP, had a joke of like, in our first week, he had this thing called Camera Island, where like, because there was like a little patch that the river had risen up to, where the camera team was like basically situated, and then that was underwater within 2 days. And Erzulie has maybe 5 different levels of like river set, but all the same location, because it's constantly shifting. And then what you were speaking to that day where, you know, we split off, you had to block again, like from the top, your entire finale the day we were shooting it, because we didn't know what the hell the set was going to look like. Yeah. And you know, there's an evil hilarity to to that, but
fucked up hilarity, but yeah.
It's like how I liken it to. I've gotten luckily a friend of you practice. It's like when you create a schedule for as an AD, and then one actor's availability just fucks the entire thing, and you just spent like 3 creating the schedule that you're like, well, I don't even know. I lost these 3 days of my life creating nothing
out the window.
None of it's going to be used, and it completely is. Why did I even work ahead? Why didn't I do my homework? That's how it feels. It's like, all right, I did all this prep, and let's just start over.
Mulligan.
It's like,
From scratch, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go.
Yeah.
Fuck.
One of my favorite like quote. I like having like lines in my back pocket just for little sadisms. But Fincher has a really solid line of just like, you don't know what directing is until the sun is gonna, like, you're watching the sun set and it's gonna be gone in 30 minutes. You need to get 3 shots and you have time for 2. Like, or you need 5 shots. You need
right.
It's a good quote. It exists somewhere in actual words, but that sentiment of like directing is
time working against
moment. Yeah, time working against you and finding out in the moment what is actually crucial to you. And that was, I feel like that was Erzulie in a nutshell. Is just like
being in the moment and having to work with what's available in the moment on the fly. And it is so hard to do that, especially for someone who plans the way that I do.
Right.
I plan so much.
Mm-hmm.
I plan, and it drives me nuts. I'm the kind of person who drives me nuts when it's like, let's just work on the fly. Let's just like not have a plan. Let's just let's play it by ear. Like that mentally drives me up the wall.
Yeah, because the only other person who thinks
my
that way is
blood
the
pressure.
Joker from Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I had a shot list. Like the moment I knew we were gonna shoot, I had like a 3-page. I planned in order of efficiency. Like that shot list probably went out the door pretty fast. Yeah.
Yeah. The shot list became like a Yahtzee thing. It was like, here you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just that day, man. I just remember being like, all right, this is what I have to work with. And what are we gonna do?
You know, something that a circumstance Erzulie had me encounter that I hadn't had before, because I've done night shoots obviously, but I don't think I've had to do the number of night shoots that Erzulie had for a production this long before.
It was intense.
And I mean, like, we started running into the problem of, well, the sun's coming back. Like,
Yeah.
it's like
our crackhead asses been up all
like,
night.
oh no. And that the one of the memories that like that night with the train, do you remember where like
it wouldn't end?
It was comically long. It was like a 10-minute like Midnight Express, like some magical train in the swamp,
right?
Just had a view, but like made sound useless for a scene that had like very important lines, and we're all just sitting there waiting, and like the sun's gonna be back in an hour. And then we literally were like, well, we should shoot something. And I think we picked like some inserts we were going to get to because we could figure we could do it MOS. And then of course, like the second we make that decision, it's off the tripod already. Joel's framing up and like, it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Evil comedy is just the.
Like I said, it was the environment just mocking us back. Like it was just like Nikki makes a joke that the swamp had all of us, and it really did.
It wanted a human sacrifice.
It took an entire crew sacrifice.
We've hung out since, I think, and everyone's just expressed it.
Done a film where, I mean, I've done night shoots, but not to the extent of like we were worried the sun was coming back. That cut at least an hour like of stuff that we knew that we could like shoot, you know, because our cutoff time was like pretty much like 5:30 a.m. was the cut, because twilight would fuck us basically. Yeah, even though it wasn't completely, you know, just the speck of light where we were screwed, you know.
And it comes in fast. Surprisingly fast, like faster than even sunset. Like I feel like the sun comes back faster than it goes away.
Than sunset,
Yeah. But I think that worked for us because I was forced to have 12-hour days because I think we literally could not work past. Like we would start at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
But we had to end at 5, essentially.
Right.
You know, because there was no, we couldn't.
Because we were just going to see nothing but light in 20 minutes.
And then it's just a whole bunch of like, I don't know, people groggily walking to the cafeteria for breakfast, dinner.
I mean, it felt, I mean, I wish I can like vividly remember everything, you know, and it just like it just comes and goes.
Do y'all like when you're on productions, especially like ones that are like significant for you, like did you keep a journal? Or I think Adam, you told me you've journaled about it. Christine, do you do anything to kind of hang on to
this podcast is kind of like my journal.
That makes sense.
I have taken time to watch and listen to our old ones to laugh about them and stuff like that, but like this for me is the closest to a journal that I can get, like in terms of having the ability to download and talk through and the emotions that I've experienced and stuff like that. I think that's why I enjoy it so much, because I literally go back and listen to the old stuff and I'm like, holy shit, we started this during the pandemic. We didn't know what we were doing. And then listening, and oh my god, this is what happened. And at this point, I was like so stressed out. And this, this is like a journal. This is my, because I don't really, I did for a little bit here and there try to like jot it on my phone. I tried to write. I did the Artist's Way, which is about downloading. Have you done the Artist's Way?
No, I think someone was telling me recently that I should get on that because I'm trying to get into writing too.
The concept basically is that when you wake up, your subconscious or mind or something is full. So it's like your filter needs to be emptied, right, to be able to function at maximum capacity. And so if you wake up in the morning, they suggest the morning and just literally open and just start writing and force yourself to write 3 pages of something, and it literally can be anything. It can be like, yesterday sucked because like my toe got stuck and blah. Like it can literally be anything. But because you have that emotional whatever download, it leaves space to create is the idea. Yeah. And I feel like it kind of worked a little bit. I did it with like blogs. If I can't get myself to work, I'll just pick up and just start blogging about something. And I think the action of I'm doing something that's kind of productive, so that makes me be in that mindset, and also that downloading aspect of clearing my brain ends up where what I was stuck on working on, I can ease back into it. So yeah, that's, I guess, journaling. This is kind of it, and maybe blogging is kind of like my journal, but I don't
You have a
do
blog?
it daily. Yeah. I would like to. I get into these phases of like I try to meditate. I'll do it here and there, and then I get busy and I forget about it basically. But I always come back. It's like the learning the guitar during undergrad. Like I'm gonna get so good at learning the guitar, and I get really good for like a week, and then like things get busy, and then like 3 weeks later, I'm like, what's G? You know? So that's how I guess it is when it comes to journaling and meditating and stuff like that. So
Journaling's
cool.
great.
You guys all journal daily. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I don't. I wish I did, but Adam was telling me about it.
Because I make it apparent to myself that especially on set too, after set, I still kept journaling every single day, but set was the thing that sort of was just like going back through it after the shoot, just reading my sheer panic. I realized, and it wasn't just that. It was lots of amazing, like there was memories that I forgot about, like great moments that I completely forgot about. And I wrote it down in my journal and I read it and I was like, oh my God, that was such a hilarious moment. I can't believe I almost forgot about that. Stuff like that sort of like comes back at you. They're just like, it just kind of warms you up and you're just like, oh, that's why I do this shit. Oh, that's why I do the thing that I love doing because of this shit, you know?
That's why I keep working with Christine.
That's why I keep working with Christine and not kill her. Now, but I'm saying like this was like journaling for me, and a copious amount of marijuana helps too. But I think that journaling is one of those things that is like, so even if you're not an artist or a writer or whatever, it doesn't matter. Journaling is probably one of the most therapeutic things that I know. Even growing up, I did, and I just didn't think about. It sort of helped me understand, even if I'm like when I write it down on paper, then it's real. Then when I write it down and I read it again, I'm just like, oh, I was in a different place that time. Like I didn't quite realize I was that angry, or I didn't quite realize I was that sad or happy or whatever. You know, even the ones that I was happy, I still have to write that down, because for a long time, all I did was just like, oh, I'm just going to journal whenever I'm sad or depressed or lonely and shit like that. Then it's just like a really sad fucking journal. So when you get into the habit of writing every single day, you realize you can appreciate the smallest things a little more in retrospect. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, being grateful. Yeah.
Being grateful.
Being grateful. That's I think that's one of the journaling exercises, is like writing down 3 things that you're grateful for first.
Oh, I don't do that shit. I just talk shit.
I know that's an exercise because I've definitely done that before.
It is.
Like, yeah, writing, starting your appreciation and grateful list and stuff, and put in that just by simply doing that puts you in a completely different mindset. Yeah. So
that's why I'd like taking a set photo. That's why I always bring the film. I've started bringing my film cameras. Like any feature I'm on, I want to take some photos because that's like I'm just very visual based. Like I want to journal, but I have a hard time. I drift quite a bit. Well, like on the page, like I'll start and then I'll be like, oh, and then I'm gone. But photo, I love taking photos on set, good or bad, especially on film. I'm romantic about the celluloid of it all, but it's
You take lovely photos, sir.
I was gonna say I love your pics too, because like every picture, whether or not it's me looking like I just want to die, you capture that moment and it's preserved for the rest of time, and I love that.
At least on my Google Drive.
At least on your Google Drive, it's gonna live there, and I love that shit. And you took rad fucking photos and stuff, and
I appreciate it.
It was rad.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm glad y'all like them.
Yeah. I do.
I love that photo that you got of Roxy, me, and Kelly.
Oh yeah, like
what a lovely photo. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Y'all. Shout out to Roxy and Kelly. Roxy and Kelly, me and Adam were definitely like a late night hang crew of just like getting drunk and fucking like at the end of every day. So shout out to that team. But yeah, I also love that photo of just Kelly. I think I got all of the art department in it. Some like it's not everyone's in focus. Like you're unfortunately from behind, but just like Roxy and Kelly,
that's usually
like,
how it goes.
Smiling real big. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I remember. I know which photo you're talking about. Yeah.
Lots of joy. It's good to capture the joyous moments on top of the stressful ones.
Or just the hilarious moments, even if they are stressful, they could still be funny.
Yeah.
So I think you look very cool in that photo I got of you, Adam. So
I look like I was over it. Like I look like I just want to just fucking leave.
You look like you had an 11-day shoot and you're
That's
just
true.
like surveying the land. And it's like,
that's true. And it's so funny because like before the shoot, I basically had this kind of hair. Like I just cut it, but after leaving Louisiana, I just looked so fucking shaggy. Like I had a mustache and my beard just came full and shit like that. I was a changed man. The swamp had me, like Nikki said.
The swamp had all of us. And I went in mentally prepared because I actually been to that location.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all did, Christine.
Well, I tried to mentally prepare you guys.
Yeah.
Well, I was like, it's like camping, like it's not comfortable. Like I tried to make this the worst location that you thought, so that you guys could prepare it for it mentally. That you were warned that it was going to be hard.
I can't
in that case, you're a hero.
3 features in a row there, Christine. Like I cannot believe you did 3 features.
I can't either.
In a row. It was you, Carly, Francis. Was Nikki there?
Nikki was not, but it was, it's how I met Francis, or Killer, we call her. But it was like me, Carly, and Francis, and they were equally difficult number of days as well. It was like 12 day, it was supposed to be 10 day, but it became 12. One of them was like a 14 day, 15, but it was, and we would have like one day in, sometimes not even, one day between each set to rest, and we would be on the next one. And there was at a point where we weren't even officially wrapped on like the first film. We were doing pickups for the first 2 films, plus wrapping our 3rd film on the same day.
You're a warrior, Christine. And you also shot a short film on one of those off days, right?
I also shot a short
film.
That's
madness. That's madness. But that's like I saw that BTS video you did for that, and it's like that's the most Christine thing I've ever heard.
Really?
Like she fit a short film shoot in the middle of
and every time she does that shit, I always walk away feeling like, why am I just sitting on my ass doing nothing? Even though I feel like I'm working hard, I truly am. when I see Christine, I'm just like, fuck, how do I be on her level? This is insane. She's operating on all cylinders, maximum overdrive. It's insane. I never seen a human being work truly as hard and as fast as you do, Christine. That's hats off to you, but man, dude, I just hope you're not burning the candle at both ends. I want to see Christine live to 150.
Kelly says I thrive in chaos. This is true.
Christine thrives in chaos. That's right.
I just perform better when there's a fire lit underneath my ass. Yeah.
It's admirable, but
it is
from the outside. It's certainly like.
Yeah, but I was gonna say, even without a deadline or without a anything going on, you would just make shit for you to then get stressed over.
I set deadlines. Yes. Yes. I set deadlines. Like I set 2 deadlines for myself for screenings, for 2 in progress screenings for the second edit of Erzulie. I'm like, why did I do this to myself? I'm forced to. I have this deadline, those 2 deadlines. So now I'm forced to have the second draft done in like a day or 2.
No, it's admirable. It's admirable, Christine. I truly wish I can operate on that level, but you just, my gosh, dude, you're Swiss Army woman, if anything. You just go and you don't stop.
Yeah, it stresses me out when I'm not doing stuff. Actually,
sometimes though, when you take a break and you just breathe and just nothing floats into your subconscious or whatever, it feels great. It just feels great to just like, it feels fantastic. That's what meditation's all about. No, you just like, you sort of have to push out the noise,
This is why I'm very bad at meditating.
Yeah. Well, I am too, to be honest. I'm not great at it either, but I do love my loneliness and silence. I do love that. I do cherish those moments a lot.
Yes.
You should too, Christine.
Yes.
Have you ever tried those float tanks?
No, I've heard stuff about it. You think I should?
It was very helpful for me. Because I'm in a very similar place of like my mind's just racing constantly. It's very hard to give myself that calm, but like at least in a float tank, you are literally putting yourself in a space that like no matter how restless you may be, you can't leave. It kind of forces you to just sit in it, and that's like, I mean, it's a space dedicated to literally floating, sitting in it. And like, even when my mind is racing for maybe 15 minutes, it does eventually have to go still. And like, it's a dedicated hour for that. And I've never done it and not felt like, it's usually something I give myself like on my birthday or something, but just like a real check-in centering. At its best, it genuinely feels kind of like you're drifting through some great thoughts and ideas, and they're kind of you're generally kind of transcending a little bit. And at its, even when that doesn't come, which is rare, it's still a very relaxing kind of check-in.
I bet.
Yeah, I like it. For anybody,
I never tried it, but that sounds fucking rad. I never even heard of it.
Totally, it sounds rad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe when you finish a cut or something, like
We'll
just
do
something
it.
to kind of yeah. I literally live around the corner to a true float. So.
All right, that sounds cool. There's so many things I'm like after the movie. I'll do that after.
Yeah.
The movie. After the movie. My whole life just after the movie.
Absolutely. We exist in between movies.
In between.
In this career.
That's very well said. We exist in between movies. I like that a lot.
Let's take it.
Once we're on set, we're not even people anymore.
How romantic of a quote that is, Matt. I quite like it.
Yeah,
Matt's a romantic guy.
Unfortunately, but we're very lucky to do what we do, even when it probably is killing us at a rapid speed.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I
It's-
love it.
It's a more interesting life than most get. But yeah. If it's cool, I do have to start wrapping out to meet up with somebody.
We're almost 2 hours, or basically 2 hours. So
Holy shit.
yeah,
I do want to shout out though real quick, just because this was technically an AD thing. I want to shout out the AD team that helped me so much. Carly, Francis, and Nikki, who was like key PA, but like I very much like a part of that trip. Like from my end, those three absolutely made my life easier. They're fucking such professionals. People in general would be lucky to work with them. But yeah,
anybody
it was a great
would be lucky to
department.
work with those guys. Those ladies are absolute fucking killers. They're amazing. So shout out to them.
Mhm.
Thank you, Matt, for joining us. We love you. And please,
dude,
for God's sakes, come back and tag along this podcast again. And if Christine is not here and you got to fill in a co-host spot, let's fucking get the
Just do
Stryker
it. Take
here.
over. It'll be more
I'm
interesting
down.
anyway.
No.
It wouldn't be. No, because Christine's more talented than me and Matt. But I'm
Wait.
kidding. I'm kidding.
Christine's very talented, but I
I'm
want to
third
end the
banana,
show
you're
on that
second
note.
all right, guys. Well, that has been the Get Realisms podcast. Hey, Christine, are you ready to end this shit, or you got something else to say?
Bring it in for a landing.
Ladies and gentlemen, that has been the Get Realisms podcast. Tune in next week. Go on erzulifilm.com. Podcast episodes are there, right?
Yes, they have.
Okay.
Yes.
Check it out, erzulifilm.com. Getrealisms.com. Pick up your book. Pick up the book.
I bought
today.
one. It's dope.
Matt bought one. Everybody stop being a square. Be like Matt fucking Stryker and get a goddamn book and some stickers. Why don't you?